I believe I can speak for all MMA fans when I say that UFC 319's main event is fantastic. Additionally, it serves as a morale boost for people who have been dissatisfied with the UFC as a whole throughout a year in which we have continuously received the reverse of what we requested from the organization. Many admirers consider it to be the official debut of Khamzat Chimaev, the opportunity to finally be acknowledged as the unstoppable monster he has been building up to be since he destroyed John Phillips and Rhys McKay back-to-back in July 2020, setting a record for the quickest turnaround between UFC victories in the modern era with just 10 days between them.
The guy's special. I've been in this game my whole life. I've never seen anything like him. He's special. He's different. He wants to fight again. So, you know, I've never been in a position where I'm like, who's next? How do we get him a fight? How do we get him over here? How do we do this? How do we do that? It's fun and I like it. And I think when you're a fight fan, a guy like this is the type of guy that you love to watch and follow and hate, you know, and whatever it might be. This guy is one of the most special fighters I've ever seen, if not the most special guy that I've ever come across. It's just I've never experienced that with anybody ever. Not even close, not even remotely close to some. Listen, it's one thing to say I want to turn around, but, you know, not like this.
In this 2020 clip, UFC President Dana White captures the whirlwind of hype that surrounded Khamzat Chimaev's debut. From the outset, Chimaev wasn't just seen as a promising prospect. He was viewed as an unstoppable juggernaut, someone destined to tear through the middleweight division. His early performances were undeniably dominant, but much of the buzz stemmed from timing. Chimaev entered the UFC during the peak of Khabib Nurmagomedov's stardom. The company wasted no time drawing comparisons between the two. Both were dominant wrestlers from the Caucasus region with a relentless, smothering style, and the UFC saw an opportunity. With Khabib officially retiring just 3 months after Chimaev's arrival, the UFC scrambled to fill the void left by one of its biggest global stars. Khabib left the sport undefeated, on top, and turned down massive super fights that could have generated hundreds of millions. In his absence, the UFC leaned heavily into promoting Chimaev as the next big thing, a larger, more aggressive, and potentially even more marketable version of Khabib. The promotion machine kicked into overdrive. Eager to keep the momentum alive in one of its most popular divisions, sadly for the UFC, Khamzat contracted COVID, which progressed to a serious lung infection. This resulted in multiple hospitalizations and episodes of dyspnea, which prevented him from competing for more than a year and even prompted him to make an official retirement announcement during a particularly trying period. However, he eventually returned to the UFC and won 5 straight fights in the middleweight and welterweight divisions. The most notable of these was the last one, in which he used a face crank in the first round to break the bottom row of teeth of former middleweight champion Rob Whittaker.
I think Khabib had so much more to offer and so much more to accomplish. But I think when his dad passed away, it kind of sucked the fun out of it for him, and he was done. Plus, he made so much fucking money, he never has to do anything.
His difficult performance against Kamaru Usman, who was moving up a weight class from welterweight on 9 days' notice, and the fact that he lost 8 of his 12 takedown attempts and appeared noticeably exhausted despite the fight being 3 rounds. There were many rumors prior to the Whittaker bout that Khamzat was overrated. Furthermore, these same rumors circulated following Khamzat's performance against Gilbert Burns the previous year, in which he appeared worn out and bruised after 3 rounds.
He's a killer. He comes in and tries to finish you. Almost 10 years.
Yeah,
almost 10 years. It's like 35 straight fights. He hasn't lost in almost 10 years. Never been taken down in the UFC. His finish rate in those 35 fights was 70%. His finish rate as a champion is 100%. You know, it's very impressive.
The double-edged sword of hype public perception rarely lives in the middle. You're either an unstoppable force or wildly overrated. In Khamzat Chimaev's case, despite defeating the number 2 welterweight while being ranked 11th himself, his reputation took a hit. Why? Because his image wasn't just built on winning, it was built on domination. That night, he didn't look like the monster the UFC had sold to fans, and as a result, the aura began to fade. Heading into his fight with Dricus du Plessis, Chimaev finds himself in a uniquely vulnerable position. It's the biggest stage of his career, and ironically, winning alone may not be enough. If he doesn't run through Dricus quickly and convincingly, any sign of struggle will be viewed as underwhelming. And if he loses or even looks human, it could be career-altering. His appeal has been based on invincibility, and once that's gone, so is a huge part of the intrigue. We've seen this happen recently. Shavkat Rakhmonov lost his mystique after a competitive fight with Ian Gary. Alex Pereira, who was everywhere last year, has all but vanished from headlines after looking flat against Magomed Ankalaev. And this isn't new. Renan Barão was once on the verge of being crowned the pound-for-pound best before back-to-back losses to TJ Dillashaw. In 2015 derailed his legacy. Today, most casual fans barely remember him, despite Dana White once speaking about him with the same excitement he now reserves for Chimaev. That's the cruel nature of hype in MMA. The bar isn't just set high, it's set at perfection. One off night, and the narrative shifts completely.
Build them up in your head. Then you get in there and you go, that wasn't special. There was nothing different that I haven't seen. But it was after the end of the fight, it was just in my head saying, why? Why did I doubt myself? You don't do that.
Leading under that kind of pressure has to be brutal. But thankfully, life isn't MMA, while Khamzat can only rely on himself in the octagon. You can always count on today's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, to be in your corner. Shocking numbers are emerging. Children are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease at alarming rates. New research suggests a potential link between these conditions and the consumption of ultra-processed foods. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold food companies accountable. Decades of experience taking on major corporations. They're fighting for families who deserve justice. If your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, click the link in my bio to see if you qualify for a case. It takes only minutes and can be done entirely from your phone. As for Khamzat, the truth is, no one can realistically live up to the myth that's been built around him. He's in a position where each fight is judged, not just on winning, but on how dominant he looks. Meanwhile, his opponents are graded on a curve, earning praise just for being competitive. While fans leave wondering what made Khamzat such a big deal in the first place, intimidation plays a huge role in MMA. It's no coincidence that previously undefeated fighters often start losing more frequently after their first loss. Take Cody Garbrandt. For example, he didn't suddenly decline physically at 25 after losing to TJ Dillashaw. What changed was perception. Once other fighters saw him hurt and beaten, the aura of invincibility disappeared. And opponents who once approached him with caution began fighting more aggressively, knowing he was vulnerable. For Khamzat Chimaev, that same aura is a massive part of his advantage. His dominance, like what he showed against Robert Whittaker, creates a terrifying image in the minds of opponents. Even though that fight lasted under 4 minutes and left a lot of questions unanswered. In fact, Whittaker later clarified that the injury which ended the bout was largely due to existing damage, not something Khamzat inflicted in the moment. But once that psychological edge is gone, once fear is no longer a factor, the playing field starts to level. Opponents stop fighting to survive and start fighting to win. That's when we get a clearer picture of how Chimaev stacks up, shown in this official prediction from Gilbert Burns.
I get so freaking tired. I know he's working his conditioning right now, but he's that one speed fighter. Bro, he's gonna come like a freaking truck at you. He's gonna be a truck coming 1000% super strong. But
you think he's actually gonna do that in the first round, or is he gonna save his energy?
I think that's his speed. I do believe he might take Dricus down, might control him a little bit. I don't believe Dricus will get knocked out. I don't think he's gonna get cut. I don't think he's gonna get finished. I do believe Dricus is gonna fight through all that, get strong, get up, and I think if he's slowing down the way he's slowed down against Kamaru, against me, against a couple other fighters that the fight went late, I think it's a nightmare to fight Dricus like that.
You think there's a chance it goes 5 rounds?
It is a chance, because that's the way I said.
Truth is, win or lose, Khamzat Chimaev isn't the Boogeyman in this fight, Dricus du Plessis, is... He's awkward, incredibly strong, unpredictable, and has a gas tank that seems to never run out. If Khamzat can't put him away early, there's a very real possibility that Dricus not only makes him look human, but completely exposes him on the biggest stage of his career, stripping away the aura and mystique that have defined his rise. And the stakes aren't the same for both men. For Dricus, there's little to lose. If he simply looks competitive, he'll walk away with a moral victory in the eyes of fans and analysts. But for Khamzat, who's already talking about becoming the first 3-division champion in UFC history, the risk is enormous. A close fight, a visible moment of vulnerability, or even just a lack of dominance could significantly damage his brand. It's a high-risk scenario. Khamzat seems to know it. In the lead-up, he's shown Dricus far more respect than he's shown past opponents, a clear sign that he understands the threat du Plessis brings into the octagon.
He is a special fighter. He's incredibly good. Jeez, I can't wait. This win for me is going to be history. I am going out there and I'm going to shock the world once again. Like every other time, and everybody said it's impossible. Not this guy, not this guy. And I'm going to go out there and you're going to see the boogeyman. You're going to see him break. You're going to see him break in there. And then realize there's only one boogeyman, and that's me. In the middleweight division, there can be only one boogeyman, and that will be me.